rats, fraud, and empty buildings? I'm finna show you the reality behind insurance inspections. Let's go. Alright y'all, let's crack open the story on that Virginia run I did with those insurance inspections, because what happened there, it was a reality check real quick, right? Because people think that insurance inspections are just photos and paperwork, right? But sometimes you walk into a situation that hits different, right? And it hit different for me because I walked into a full-blown reality check, right? So here's the deal. So I was down in Virginia recently doing a run of insurance inspections. I had one client for these locations, right? It was 25 properties, and they were all lined up on the same street. That sounds easy peasy, right? I was like, boom, 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 I can knock these things out. You know, I failed to mention I did do these last year, so I didn't hesitate to take these on, right? So anyway, it all sounds all easy. But when I got there, it was a whole different story. Straight up a reality check. Real. Right? And again, like I said, I work with their, both times I worked with their maintenance coordinator, right? This guy is cool. He's a solid guy. And he's been there for over 10 years, right? But this time it was something different about him. You know, he was tired, man. And you could really see it in his face. And as we were talking and stuff, he told me straight up that he gets no support from upper management. You know, they don't have a repair budget really. And there's no accountability for any of the employees there, right? And as we were there and going into different units, he had tenants calling him. I'm overhearing conversations when we're in the units about rats, mice, water leaks, active water leaks, water damage. And, you know, we went to one apartment and he asked the guy if we can view his apartment. And the guy was like, what for? Y'all don't ever fix nothing. I was like, okay, all right. So anyway, we get to another building, right? And he pointed out two guys sitting on their cars outside the building. And you know, I was like, I thought they were tenants. You know, because I asked him, those tenants? He was like, no, that's the maintenance crew. I was like, what? The maintenance crew? I said, why they ain't doing nothing? He said they just clock in for the day, park their car somewhere, and hang out and call it a day and get paid, right? And let's talk about the office staff. You know, I get there at 9 o'clock. First of all, the lights get turned off for non-payment. For non-payment, okay? These were all, as soon as I walk on a property, I can see a clear indication of how well a property has been taken care of. So anyway, the office staff, right? They'll clock in, go outside, sit in their cars for hours, smoking that wacky tobacco, right? And then that day we got done about 2 o'clock, and the office was closed. I mean, I can understand the power was out, but this is an everyday occurrence. Okay, they close at 4 o'clock, and see, this is an indication of the kind of leadership that is actually running this place, because it shows, right? Now, out of 25 buildings that I inspected for this client, there were maybe two that I call decent condition. The rest falling apart, crumbling, trash, you know. And then, for the most part, out of all those buildings, most of them were 50% vacant. Okay, I went to one building. I think it had 16 units. And it was only one occupied unit, one tenant living in that whole building, right? No, this is just neglect, right? Nobody wants to live in that kind of neglect, that kind of filth. It was like a ghost town with rent signs, right? Then, right, came the part that really blew me away, because this ain't the end of the story. There is so much more to this story. Just wait till you get to the end of my story, right? So he told me, well, I learned that when management gets flagged for issues, like for insurance, like when I come out, you know, and flag them for different repairs that was, you know, should be done, right? So I'll give you an example, like graffiti or damage to the property, right? So what they'll do is, instead of actually fixing the problem, they'll fake the proof. They'll take a picture of another wall or another similar area and submit it like the repair has been done. That's not a fix, guys. That is fraud. Okay? And if you're the inspector attached to that report, your name is on the line, right? Now, I'm not gonna go out here naming names or naming a property or anything like that, because I'm not trying to get sued. You feel me? But I am going to tell you the truth, right? Because this is an ownership problem, plain and simple. Okay? When people in charge stop caring, the whole system collapses. It falls apart. You see it in the empty units, you see it in the way staff checks out, and you see it when the lights get shut off for non-payment. I'm serious, right? And while I was there, the staff told me, and staff and tenant, actually the tenant, told me about a serious incident. They found a body in one of the units. Okay? They found a body in one of the units. All right? Now see, that hit me hard, right? Because behind every inspection, there's a human story that nobody else sees. See, this is why our job matters. This is why documentation matters. Because when inspectors do their job right, they shine light where nobody else wants to look. Okay? See, we're not just taking pictures, as most people assume. We're documenting the reality. Rather that's rats, water leaks, fraud, or neglect. Okay? We're showing what happens when ownership stops taking responsibility. Okay? So when I say this work matters, this is what I mean. Because it's not glamorous all the time, and it's not easy all the time, but it is necessary, right? So guys, if you want to see what it actually looks like out here, I'm putting together a walkthrough from one of the roughest properties I've ever inspected from start to finish. And you will see what we deal with, what we look for, and why integrity in this work matters more than any paycheck. Because at the end of the day, this is real life. And somebody's got to tell the truth. And I guess that somebody is me. Let's get it. It's our time to be free.